her to do her little morning thing, and I wanted to go ahead and start my video because sometimes she's kind of pokey and takes a little bit of time. And I wanted to talk to you this morning since I was reading my Proverbs, and I'm just going to walk around my garden a bit while I'm waiting on her. I wanted to talk to you about something I was impressed with in Proverbs this morning, and it's good King or King Lemuel's mother's advice. You know, she was the queen mother. We have a kind of a mystery about King Lemuel. We really don't know who he is, or he's a mystery. We don't even know if he was a real man. Some people think maybe he was Solomon, and uh, the queen mother was Bathsheba. But she had some good advice for him, and she wanted to warn him. I think it's starting with verse 31, Proverbs 31, verse 1. She wanted to warn him to watch out for two things, and that is to not to let women take his strength, to watch out for women, and especially she warned him of foreign women, because the foreign women of that time were very apt to turn his heart towards their gods. And tragically, he did not listen. If it was Solomon, he did not listen to his mother. And his father had the same problem with women whose hearts were not with God, and they turned their hearts away. I misspoke that. His dad just had a problem with adultery, and it turned him to become a murderer. So that's a thing also. But another thing that she warned him of was alcohol. And I think in today's time, we would consider that anything that was intoxicating and that takes you out of your right mind. Come on, Piper. Anything that takes you out of your right mind. I'm going to get over here and sit down in my little rocking chair that my husband gave me when he thought we were going to have a little grandbaby, and we did. So let me get back down here and sit down. In verse 1, it's the wisdom that his mother taught him. And she warned him, it's recorded, she warned him of women and alcohol, that strength to women or sex obsession and alcohol would impair his ability to be a good king. And she repeated that 3 times. It's recorded. She repeated that 3 times. And she told him to turn his eyes. Let's look what it's recorded that she told him in verse 7. And in verse 7 it says, let him drink and forget his poverty. Give it to those who are perishing. In other words, maybe people in prison or people that were dying, so that they could forget their heavy hearts. And so that and it says, wine unto those that be of heavy hearts. I'm sorry, I'm just stumbling around this morning. Let him drink and forget his poverty and remember his misery no more. So if he's drinking, if he's drinking and he's in poverty, what is it going to do? He might forget it, but it's just going to make it worse, isn't it? And she knew that. But it's not for kings, it's not for princes, it's not for people who want to be leaders of men to drink and to give themselves to women, because it will destroy your ability to do that. And then it said, let him drink and forget his poverty and remember misery no more. Open thy mouth for the dumb in the cause of all such as are appointed to destruction. Okay, she said to him, to open his mouth for the dumb, those who cannot speak for themselves. It doesn't have anything to do with their intelligence, but those that cannot speak for themselves. And if we were to apply that to today, what might we call that? Who are those who have the least ability to speak for themselves? And who should we be opening our mouth for? It's those little babies in the womb whose mothers intend to kill them. Open our mouth for them. I think that's how we could apply that for today. and to judge righteously and plead their cause for the poor and the needy. So her biggest concern we're very political this in this day and time, some of us, sometimes I am too, but she's telling him her biggest concern about politics for him is that he plead the cause of the innocent and the poor and the needy that have no one to speak for them. She's more concerned for that. She's not telling him, go build a great big armed force and bigger and better and worse bombs. And I'm not trying to make any political statement here either. I'm just saying her focus was for those who cannot speak for themselves and those who are needy and those who are in poverty, to be concerned about them. And that's the kind of politics that we ought to all be concerned about and get involved in too. So, and then she said, she goes on to say, and who can find a virtuous woman? Now she's going to tell him how to look for a good wife. Well, I'm certainly not saying I was the best, and I'm not telling you how I did the best, but I'm telling you what she told her son, how to find a worthy woman for a man who's going to be a leader and going to be looked up to and respected and admired. How to find that kind of woman for a wife. And it says, who can find a virtuous woman, for her price is above rubies. And she is so valuable that her price is more than rubies. I'm sorry, Piper's over here having a little get-go with Prissy, and they're fussing about over a ball. Can you believe that? A cat and a dog fighting over a ball. Sometimes we get to be that ridiculous too, don't we? Anyway, it says for a worthy woman to be a queen to a king or a prince or someone, a man of respect, or someone that is that men follow after, a man's man, the heart of her husband doth safely trust in her, so that he shall have no need of spoil. In that time and day, the men would lock up all their treasures and keep them safe, even against their wives, who they could not trust with their own goods. They couldn't trust them. So he's saying someone who's find a wife you can safely trust and put your trust in, and she will do you good and not evil all the days of her life. And another thing she does is she seeketh wool and flax and worketh willingly with her hands. She's not a lazy woman, is she? She's out there get going and trying to increase the treasure of her heart. Not now, Piper. Not now. Not now, baby. Not now. Anyway, and she is like the merchant ship. She bringeth her food from afar. She goes to Sam's or wherever she has to go, or to get the best eggs. She goes to the best place or the best milk. She goes afar and she puts out effort to make sure her family has just the best. And she riseth up also while it is yet night. She gets up before the sun. She's up and ready to go and get to work. And she giveth meat to her household. She makes sure her household is well fed, and when they're off for their day, and she even gives portions to her maidens, which would be her household help. She makes sure they have a good meal too. That's kind of nice, isn't it? And she considereth a field and buyeth it. She has an eye for how to increase her money and her wealth. And then with the fruit of her hands, She planteth a vineyard. She's out there working and getting the best she can for her family and increasing their wealth. And she girdeth her loins with strength and strengtheneth her arms. She's out there working hard, and she perceiveth that her merchandise is good, and her candle goeth out not out by night. Even after the sun goes down, she's still working and doing things that will be helpful to her family and to her husband. And she layeth her hands on the spindle, and her hands hold the distaff. She stretcheth out her hand to the poor. She cares about the poor. She cares about those who have less than she does, that she can help and that she can benefit. And she reaches forth her hands to the needy. And she is not afraid of the snow for her household, for all her household are clothed with scarlet. She makes sure they all have a good warm coat, good warm socks, good warm shoes. She cares about her family. And guess what? She also cares about herself. She cares how she looks and how she presents herself to the community, because after all, she represents her husband. She represents her mom or her dad, but most of all, she represents her God. And she maketh herself coverings of tapestry, and her clothing is silk and purple. I bet she's pretty, don't you? And her husband is known in the gates when he sitteth among the elders of the land. Because of her, her husband is known in the gates. In other words, he's known around town as somebody because she's putting in the effort for him and for her family. And it says, strength and honor are her clothing, and she will rejoice in time to come. And she opened her mouth with wisdom. She's not just a scatterbrain that's spouting off silly nothings and talking about who's doing what and why they did it and where they went, and just gossip and what the latest soap opera is about and what the latest movie is and who the most interesting movie star is and what they're doing now. She has wisdom. Watch out, Piper. She has wisdom, and in her tongue is the law of kindness. She's kind. She's not mean-spirited. She's not hateful speaking. She's a kind person, and she looketh well to the ways of her household. She eateth not the bread of idleness. She's not sitting around all day just eating potato chips and watching silly stuff on TV. She's not idle. And her children rise up and call her blessed, and her husband also, and he praiseth her. He's proud of her. And many daughters have done virtuously, but thou excellest them all. You're the most excellent one. Favor is deceitful, beauty is vain, but a woman that feareth the Lord, she shall be praised. Give her of the fruit of her hands, and let her own works praise her in the gates. Let her works show who she is and what kind of person she is. We're all known. It says even a child is known by their works. Even a child is known what kind of person they are by how they conduct themselves and how they live their little lives. Let's all strive harder to be that kind of woman, even if we no longer have a husband. We still influence the community around us, and we influence our own family. So I just wanted to share that with you. I just enjoyed reading Proverbs this month. Today was the last day, and I start all over. I like to add that to my daily readings because it's just such an encouragement to my heart and helpful, and I hope you'll do it too. And no, not now, Piper. I'm sorry. She's just worrying me to pieces, but I love her. I just am so glad. Oh, I want to tell you a little something. Why I think it's okay for us to care so much for our animals, and that's because of the story that the prophet told David, that about the man who who had the little sheep that he loved it so much that it lived in the tent with them and it slept with him and I guess played with the children. They probably had a little pet Boo Boo or something named for it. And the rich man had company coming, but he didn't want to. He didn't want to uh, butcher one of his own animals, so he took that poor man's little sheep and butchered it. And David, when he heard this, he says, "Well, who was it? I'll take care of this." That was the attitude that he had. And the prophet told him, "It's you." So there's so much to gain from that Bible story, but one thing I gained from it is I think it's God gave it to be okay for us to love our little dog and our little cat, and I'm so glad that's true because I sure do. They really are an important part of my life. I've really enjoyed talking with you today. I just want you to know that I love you, but God loves you more.